Hi, Rob Easter here with Modern Ancient, Workhorse Rye. With myself, I'm a person who has a couple art-focused spirits brand. I'm now operating out of my hometown in Tucson, Arizona, as well as operating out of the Bay Area, which is where I started my spirits practice, if you will. This is a big moment for me. Let me. If you're new to what I'm up to, maybe you've seen my work under Modern Ancient. This is some very interesting vodka that's available only in California right now. It's just been soft launched with Skurnik over there. We're about to do a proper launch shortly. Maybe you've had this Modern Ancient Southwest blend, which is a blend of multiple heirloom grains that have, most of which never been distilled before. And as a small maker, I'm very proud to say I aged this blend of barrels, there were many barrels, about 7. I aged the blend between 3 and 7 years. For a small distiller, that is quite a feat. It's not about age for me, but sometimes it is, you know. This bottle, for example, I'm very proud to say made it into Michelin star restaurants, and it's only 6 months old, and it's 1 corn, exactly 1 corn. It's exactly this corn, this Bolita Belatove from Oaxaca that I sourced from Hacienda. Amazing stuff, amazing corn, delicious to eat, and incredibly different when distilled, incredibly different than the corporate bullshit that's available, incredibly different. That's why it makes it into Michelin-starred restaurants, and it's only been in a barrel for 6 months because it's delicious and it's valid even though it's young. So maybe you've had my Modern Ancient whiskeys or my spirits. They're very expressive, old oak, not new oak like bourbon. This is not bourbon even though it's from very beautiful corn. It's not bourbon on purpose. This is just a very good corn spirit, a very good corn whiskey. I tend to refer to my whiskeys more as the names of like the actual grains and the farms rather than this like category that really means nothing to me. Bourbon was invented by the United States government. I don't need that. It wasn't invented by drinkers or makers. It was invented by lobbyists in the 30s. So I don't need, no disrespect if you make bourbon, but like let's remember where it came from. It's a government implementation to boost the timber lobby, to boost the timber industry, which they did. So we don't need to boost them anymore, do we? They made it. The timber industry made it work really well for themselves in the 30s. We're good. New oak adds so much flavor to spirits, kind of like dark roast coffee, kind of like my mom growing up was really into oaky Chardonnay. Well, I got her drinking some Chablis, I got her drinking some light, I got her drinking some Chenin Blanc now. I was like, you like white wine grapes, it doesn't mean you like only Chardonnay. Now she drinks Chardonnay with less oak, and it's really nice because you're drinking Chardonnay, not just oak Chardonnay. That's the premise of my whiskeys, is I use precious, frankly expensive grains, and the farmers deserve that money, by the way. I want to give them all the money that they ask for. So speaking of oak, I also put out some whiskeys called Workhorse Rye. This one's Pale Horse. You'll see these come back on the market. I've had spotty distribution for this brand since the pandemic, which is no surprise. I think you can understand why. But that's changing right now. So you'll see Workhorse Rye on the market again really soon here. Thanks for loving that. I believe I put out the first organic rye whiskey in California in decades, at least that I can tell, at least that made it to shelves. I do not see another one for decades that has a clear connection to its origin story, right? The origin of the grains. That's what's most important to me, is finding really interesting grains that have not been altered by industrialism or disimpassioned, visionless capitalists who only care about quarterly profits right now, right here for them. I care about the big picture. This is a holistic approach. This is some nerdy shit. Okay, so maybe you've had the Workhorse Rye stuff. This is aged in old oak. This is like a Japanese whiskey, but with regeneratively grown heirloom rye. This is probably my favorite whiskey I've made. This was the initial goal for me when I was getting excited about becoming a distiller. This is what I was dreaming up, this Pale Horse. This whiskey's the shit. I love Japanese whiskey, but this is a brighter, more earthy, more mushroomy rye whiskey seen through the lens of Japanese whiskey, which is finessed, Japanese whiskey uses used old oak as well, right? So American bourbon is the only spirit around the world that requires new oak. And that's where you get all that bourbon flavors, from oak, not from grains. So I just decided to offer something different, right? You guys keep making bourbon. Why would I do that? There's a lot of those. I do different shit, right? That's what I'm after. So maybe you've had some of the corn spirits, right? Maybe you've had one of the rye. I'm just a fermenter and a distiller, right? Okay, I'm a jazz player I don't give a shit about genre, okay? I just don't. I also put out a prickly pear natural wine last year. I've done a lot of grape labor throughout my career, which started in really about 2011. I've done a lot of interesting, wine labor for wineries I love, whether it's, for a job, for pay, or literally for supporting small wineries that I believe should exist and are existing against all odds. I've put my back into that, and a few of them, Brock Sellers, Thomas Fogarty, a few others, as well as Sand Reckoner here in town. I've done all kind, or here in formerly in Wilcox. They just have transitioned to something else, but I really enjoyed working in the vineyard, in the cellar, and I've picked up a few things here and there, and I'm a wine drinker, so I decided, you know what, fuck it. I can put out a wine. I'm not a somm. I'm not a genius. I've never been to a lot of these regions that people get to go to, but I've been able to drink a lot of very nice natural wine in the past 15 years. I'm very lucky to be close to that, and it's has been very accessible to me. So I have opinions and I have likes and dislikes. So I made some prickly pear natural wine, no additives, zero additives. Almost all wine on the market has a bunch of garbage in it that you actually wouldn't want to drink, and they don't have to put that information on the label. Right, so the wine lobby, the wine industry, the wine lobby has ensured that they can put whatever they want in your beverage, and they don't have to put it on the label, right? And if it was a food product, that wouldn't be the case, right? So they have special treatment for the wine industry, which I don't agree with. So this has zero additives. This is grown sustainably by Rumline Vineyard. This is sold out, so if you see it out in the world, drink up because there's no more entering the market. So if it's at a spot, that means that it's some of the last. And this is only in Tucson and Phoenix. And this is a project for Arizona. This is a project that is about love, a love letter to the city of gastronomy. Tucson, the city of gastronomy, right? There's not enough products in Tucson that are from really interesting local ingredients that are also grown without pesticides, herbicides, fungicides. I don't think there's enough. So I'm trying to toss some more out there, right? So this wine has done really well. I'm really proud of it. Thank you for loving it. It had quite a moment last year, and it's still having a moment, and I'm so fucking grateful for that, because this was a labor of love. This was an offering for Baja, Arizona as a whole. Prickly pear, 9% alcohol, natural wine with some Tempranillo, Malvasia Bianca, and then piquettes of Picpoul and Grenache, right? So I mixed Tempranillo and Malvasia with Piquette, which is a lower alcohol wine, essentially, which I won't get into right now, but look up Piquette if you want. Piquettes of Picpoul and Grenache, and then raw prickly pear. Blended those all together, 9% alcohol. It's called chill wine. Very food-friendly table wine. So maybe you've tried one of those products. I know I'm insane, but I have to ferment and distill anything and everything that is of a certain quality. And also I must taste all these things. So I make thousands of small batches that y'all never taste. Well, a lot of my friends and industry professional homies, we drink them. But when I put out a product, it represents like maybe fucking 20 or 30 different things that I made before that to test it and to learn and grow into understanding that ingredient, because prickly pear is very hard to deal with and work with. So I won't get into that now, but I'm quite a tinkerer. I'm quite a Willy Wonka guy. Okay, let's talk about right now. So maybe you've had some of those things that I'm still putting out. Like, this stuff is the craziest whiskey that's been put out in the USA. Yeah, it is. These are the best spirits that have been put out in the USA. There's none better, I know that. And I worked very hard and thoughtfully to make that happen. This is really important to me. Thank you for loving this stuff. These are grains that no one's distilled, and they're very flavorful, and they're from farmers who treat the land with respect, and they have a holistic approach, as do I. And you can either completely destroy your land, as it turns out, or you can add to it, mulch it, compost it, companion plant, not monoculture. You cannot try to just take every drop out of your land And guess what? It'll be good land for generations to come. That's what this is all about. I work with farmers who have that approach and treat their workers with respect, treat their wildlife and their soils with respect. I don't work with farmer ranchers who are known to kill mountain lions around here, or even worse, jaguars, which is true, which happens. It's really sad, and I don't fully blame the ranchers. It's a cultural thing, but it's gotta stop. Killing mountain lions and shit, killing coyotes. Sorry, a little rant here, but it doesn't help. When you kill one coyote, actually, look this up. When you kill one coyote, you just ensured you're gonna create like 10 more. All power to coyotes, don't fuck with them, work around them, work with them. Do not fucking kill them. You're only in denial about it when you do. Okay, I love you. If you're doing that, please stop, please consider, right? I know, it's a cultural thing. What do I know? What the fuck do I know? But anyway, all right. This is what I'm doing now in Tucson, all right? As well as these other things. We can do a lot in this house, in this distillery that I'm at, okay? And by the way, I don't think I said it, but I'm at Brick Box here in downtown Tucson, Arizona. These are botanical spirits. This is a Mexican sweet lime that is, chrysanthemum grappa, okay? A grappa from Malvasia bianca. What's grappa? Do you know what grappa is? It's all over Europe. It's loved in Italy, right? You take your grapes, you press your grapes, right? Well, you make that wine, right? The juice is separate from the grapes, right? If you take those grapes and you add water, that water extracts like a tea. You're making a tea with grapes. That water extracts more flavor and alcohol out of those skins and seeds. And then you put that into a still. That's what I did in downtown Los Angeles in 2020 to make some grappa. Well, that grappa is lovely, but I'm actually trying to make an offering to the world of something really bright and botanical and light and so different and so compelling and so colorful. I want to bring people together. I want to get people excited about food and drink. That's what I do with my life. And this to me was so much more fun than just a 40% alcohol, 50% alcohol grappa. This is a 30% alcohol botanical elixir from grappa, chrysanthemum, locally grown, Mexican sweet lime, locally grown. These were grown 10 minutes away. The grapes were grown an hour and a half, 2 hours away. That's all that's in here. That's it. It is very delicious, and I have done a couple small events here pouring this for people, and I'm very confident that this is colorful and inspiring. This bottle right here, I'm calling a Sangria Amaro. Amaro means bitter, right? Amargo in Spanish, amer in French. But most of the time you're gonna see the word Amaro on labels because it is just really beloved, like extra in Italy. So an Amaro, that word is bitter, right? So there are bitter botanicals. Like this is basically ancient medicine. And I'm not selling this to you as medicine. I can't do that. I'm not saying that. But like this style of thing where there's botanicals in it, good botanicals that do interact with our body, this is a historic, very cool beverage. I love Amaro. Most on the market are way too fucking sweet for me. Way too sweet. And it's like caramel bullshit sweet. It's not honey or some cool sweetener that's like really natural and not processed, you know? No. So look, there's some fun Amaros out there, or Amari out there, but they're all too sweet for me. So I've been making some for myself and my friends for years. I've been quietly doing some custom Amaro work for people here and there, which I'm happy to do for you as well. But these are gonna be my first Amaro releases coming up here. So Sangria Amaro, it starts with Tannat red grapes from one of these casks down here. So Tannat is a really cool red grape that I think grows really well here in Baja, Arizona. It's got good acidity. And since Arizona is really hot and heat creates more sugar than acidity in grapes, right? It creates more ripeness. Does that make sense? Like things get riper in hotter weather, right? And in cooler weather, things will be a little bit more acidic because they're keeping certain compounds that aren't being like catalyzed and forced out by a lot of sugar. So I like to pick grapes pretty early here in Arizona to have it be fresh and acidic and really, really vibrant. And also that way, when you have more acids, you like tend to want to use less preservatives, right? I don't use any bullshit preservatives, but it's nice to have some acidity for freshness and for preservation. So this is a classic wine. This has been made by pretty much no matter who your ancestors are. This is some liquid plants, right? Like that's what it is. And you can do that any which way you'd like. So no matter who you are, this is probably relatively somewhat of a historical beverage to all of us. In China, they were making rice, grape, cannabis, passion flower, etc. mixtures that if you look at them in a certain light now, that's just a vermouth, right? That's just a vermouth. Or it's an Amaro like this. And a vermouth is a botanical wine that doesn't really have a lot of bitterness, but it's got a little bit. And it doesn't really have much spirit, but it's probably a little bit stronger than a wine. So think of vermouth as a botanical wine. That word vermouth means wormwood, by the way. Vermouth, that means wormwood, a really beautiful herb that I've been playing with here as well, because we have some that grow locally. This is an Amaro. Amaro implies usually something a little bit more bitter than vermouth, something a little bit stronger potentially. This is coming in about a little bit less than 30% alcohol as well. So I'm starting with Tannat red grapes, and then I'm using burlap and barrel, highest quality spices that I've ever tasted and know of, and also ethically, they're the best spices because they actually do the direct trade thing where they're elevating the farmer and showing a lot of information about the farmer around the world. And that is really rare and that is amazing. And subsequently their spices are second to none. So that's burlap and barrel. Those are some high-end spices that support rustic, amazing farmers around the world, right? Sometimes we get confused about like these fancy items we get. Well, I don't know if they're fancy, they're just really beautiful and they have good intention to them, right? If you smell and taste really good cinnamon, well, that was hard for the farmer to do, but that farmer's not rich and fancy, right? That farmer's not rich and fancy. They're putting their whole intention and their whole lives into it, and they have this pronounced and developed culture, cross-generational culture, such that they're making something of gorgeousness, right? Of high beauty. So I like to get away from that word fancy because I make some things that do cost a lot of money, but I actually don't think they're fancy. I think that maybe they're necessary for the right moment. Maybe they're not your everyday thing, but they're grown by people who love their land and live day to day. And that's what I'm trying to do and trying to be inspired by and trying to further inspire. So we've got red wine in here, right? We've got burlap and barrel spices such as cardamom and cinnamon of the highest caliber. And then we have some cinchona bark from Chiapas, Mexico, organically grown cinchona bark. What's cinchona bark? Have you heard of like quina quina or china or quinine wine? Those are aperitivo botanical wines, mostly made in France, that use the tree cinchona, which was most prevalent in Peru before Europeans absolutely obliterated it, and they had to replant them in Mexico and Guatemala. And I think I'm sure they've come back in Peru because they have more trees, but no, the Europeans wiped out this, of course, multi-thousand-year-old system. I mean, they wiped it out in a couple decades because everybody was getting malaria. And so if you've ever had tonic water, or like a gin and tonic, the flavor of that tonic comes from the tree, the cinchona tree. And the bark is really delicious, and it has anti-malarial and interesting qualities for your body. If that's interesting to you, you can look that up yourself. I won't tell you too much about it. You can make up your mind about that. But it tastes really good, and frankly, it feels good to me at least to drink it. And so this has red wine, spices, cinchona bark, okay, and Seville orange grown by Mission Garden. Really gorgeous orange. It's a sour orange. It's really the original orange that was planted across the southwest and of the U.S. and in Mexico. And honestly, it's beloved now by certain groups, not by us white people much. It's too sour. No, it's not. It's not. You just got to get accustomed to it, and it's really rewarding. It's really good orange. It makes really good juice. It makes really good cocktails. There are Seville orange trees all over Baja, Arizona. Most people let those oranges just fall off, and then they go buy oranges at the store. Let's change that. Let's help people change that. It's not their fault. It's a cultural thing. I'm not judging you about that. I'm not at all. But I want solutions. I want a greener future. I think we're fucking up our earth big time. And all these tiny little things are like getting our own oranges and all these little things. Like these little things are great because they're accessible. You want to chat?
Heads are dropping.
Okay, cool. Am I good or?
They're just,
Okay,
they're
I'll
just started, but I don't know how much you're pulling.
Thank you. Maybe like 2 liters. I'll be right there. So anyway, so Seville orange. So this thing has Seville orange in it. That's what gives it a lot of really good brightness and body and bitterness. This is really fun, really fun. The aromatics are awesome. So this will be labeled and available in-house here really soon. So I got my start distilling. I went to Chicago at Siebel Institute of Technology. I think it was like early 2011. So I did that. I moved to San Francisco to really kind of get into cocktails and to get into distilling in any which way I could. And I was really lucky to get hired at Rye in the Tenderloin to do a lot of interesting events, which took me on a hell of a journey and frankly funded a lot of my initial barrels and my initial business because of those high-end like tech parties that I was able to do in San Francisco. But I also became very allergic to tech while I was there. So. And then I got hired at a really great coffee spot called 4 Barrel, and so those spots really gave me a lot of extra craft and perspective on while I was becoming a distiller. While I was becoming a distiller and working at distilleries like Kings County Distillery in New York, I've worked in Missouri. I've made a few batches at Wood Hat in Missouri. I've worked all over California, LA, the Bay, for other people, for myself, right? This and that. I'm a journeyman. I do consulting stuff. I do a little this, little that. While I've been growing as a distiller, I've been growing as a grain grower, an herb grower, a coffee maker. That was a while ago. I haven't made coffee in a while, but working in wine bar, working at a winery, all these things contributed to me being a distiller, right? But I've distilled all these other crafts and really taken those perspectives because I don't want to learn anything from American whiskey. I don't want to make that stuff. I want to make my own thing that's inspired by the world, not just this one little view of this one type of spirit. I want to be inspired by all food and drink and really not have any hindrances in that. So here I am in Tucson though now, right? And I'm still producing out of California, but it's been a dream to interact with the Arizona food and drink scene as a whole. It's been a dream to interact like this for years. This place that I'm in right now is very community focused. That's what I believe I do. I don't think I make craft spirits. I don't think my spirits are like craft spirits. I think I make art spirits. I think I make community supported, community designed spirits. And if we get to know each other, and as I speak out more, I'll tell you more about what that means. And, because these things that I make are very different and they don't just happen. It's about having a lot of intention, and it's about sometimes obsessing too hard and going too far, right? But then you figure out what the balance is. But that's your job as an artist, right? Figuring out when are you done with a thing, because you can overdo an art piece, right? Well, I can overdo a liquid for you. I can do that. I've done that. But anyway, this is a bit of a culmination period for me working on these projects very fucking hard. I have gone to great lengths, not to brag, people around me who know, they know I've been doing something very different. And frankly, when I tell people my story, they're quite shocked. I've been through it to keep this going. I don't source a lot of capital. I make strategic partnerships with people that sometimes involve, yes, cash, but I do not work with banks or investors, right? If you just care about cash, stop fucking wasting our time. You've wasted a lot of my time. Stop it. Stick to your own, please. Get out of our way. If someone's doing something with ethics and art in mind, back the fuck off if you only care about money. I don't want anything to do with you. As far as my business is concerned, I want everything to do with you and my community. I want to feed you. I want to inspire you to care about things other than money. So I'm not throwing you out, but get the fuck out of my business. Not that you're in it. Which, in fact, I just have one business partner, Jeremy Smith in Oakland. He is my only official business partner, but I have a lot of interesting collaborations and allies who we do a lot together without really getting into each other's business, right? It's just so much easier that way and more simple when you figure out strategic partnerships, because there's so much trust there and it's beautiful. And you can do so much more than just, hey, I want this like here, I'm gonna give you a $20,000 loan, give me this like return back. It's like, yeah, there's a time for that. But in food and drink, the returns are not like software, right? So part of my, part of my perspective is the tech world in the Bay and what kind of returns they want. I just want to make it clear, what I'm doing here is community focused. And I have found a distillery here in Tucson that just started, really. It's just getting started, called Brick Box. And we'll talk about that soon. But I just wanted to communicate with, maybe you haven't heard of me yet and you're in Arizona. Well, I've been at it, and my spirits have been in Arizona since about 2017, but they're small, right? I specifically don't care about or work with like Total Wine, right? I've done everything I've done. I've survived based on community-focused bottle shops and bars, and I want to continue doing so. So this is about starting something that is about like custom work here in Arizona. Let's do special things. There's so much corporate bullshit in this world. There's so little special, truly, tangibly, transparently special things in this world anymore. And I can't wait to participate in that in a new way here in Arizona, because there's so many amazing farmers here. And there's actually not as much amazing botanical, like local botanical products that actually make it to the market, because it's really difficult. So I invite you to check out my events here at Brickbox and otherwise. We're about to launch some spirits that'll be available all throughout Arizona, that are very creative, very different, trying to meet the moment, trying to meet my moment. I want something lighter in alcohol. I want something exciting. I want something that tastes really good in the desert, right? Here we are in the desert where it's dry. Even if it's winter, we're having a hot winter here. It's not a winter at all, but it's winter and it's still dry here, isn't it? Well, that's how I design my spirits to taste good in the desert, to not be super taxing on the palate, right? But anyway, I invite you to, if you're in the industry, hit me up. You can come have a taste of my new work. We can get to know each other. I'm gonna be, here and in California and a couple other spots. I have to move around quite a bit, but I'm gonna be based out of this place, Brickbox, pretty good. So if you want to taste my new work, please hit me up. I want you to come by. I want to engage. If you know me, you know this is all about community collaboration. This is about riffing. This is about living life every day, bringing people together of different backgrounds, bringing people together. This whole good agriculture thing and this whole good food and drink thing, we need to make it above party politics, far above. We need to. We have no choice. We have no fucking choice. And we don't have to mute ourselves, right? We can voice our priorities and we can keep our spines, right? But I really believe that food and drink is the thing that unites not just the left and the right, but everybody. There's not just two things. There's no such thing as binary in this world, I believe. I don't think there's any binary thing in this world at all. I just don't see it. I think there's a lot of different perspectives, and we can come together over good food, because we don't want to fuck up our rivers, actually. We don't want to build up a wall such that we prevent jaguars and ocelots from coming through, and then we kill jaguars because we built this fucking border wall, right? We don't actually want to hurt migrants. We don't actually want that. There's some paranoia there, I get it. Not really, but we don't have to have these fucking walls up, actually. That's what this is about. Because as it turns out, when you treat everybody well, like the farm, when you treat your neighbors really well, your food tastes better, because things change when you have good intentions and you have a holistic perspective. I'm not perfect. I'm not a fucking perfect person. That's not what I'm saying. But those are my perspectives. That's my ethos. That's my North Star. Now I hope you know a little bit more about me and about what I'm trying to bring to our state that I started in California. And I'm gonna keep doing it in California, but we're adding on something very new and interesting here in Tucson, Arizona. And I am very proud to work with these guys at Brickbox. These guys have my full support. I'm really enjoying working with them. I feel very respected here. And the beauty is that we can make small custom batches of things. Unlike my situations in California, I can make small custom batches quite affordably. And that has been a real serious goal of mine. Again, special shit. Let's make some special stuff happen in your bar. All right. Hope you all are well. Much love from your boy, Rob.